I don't exactly recall when I left the ICU or how I ended up on my grandparents' parlor room sofa, but I can hear their voices down in the basement, a cacophony and symphony of familiar and forgotten souls. I feel myself totally immersed and totally plunged into the smells of garlic and basil and tomato that levitate me down into the basement. I hadn't been back to the duplex in decades, and yet the house now seems so much larger than the last time I remembered it. The doorways are so much taller, the ceiling is so much higher. The aroma and smell of orange peels burn in the cast iron fireplace. There you are, amore, my grandmother Carmela calls to me. Come, sit, we're about to feast. She and my great aunt Maria, whom I don't think I've ever seen together in the same room or space ever before, somehow now plop giant platters of my favorite food out onto the table. My grandfather Pelletier and my great uncle Antonio sit and laugh together with wine glasses in hand. All four of them look so happy and plump and rosy-cheeked and not at all emaciated or gaunt like the last time I had seen each of them. I don't understand, I say. Where are Mama and Papa, my sister, our cousins? Won't they be coming as well? My Zia Maria turns to me and says, they're not ready to join us yet, Bello. But soon, when it's their time, we'll have chairs for each of them, I promise you that. Without questioning the absurdity of this logic, a seat appears before me, and I sit at the table. I feel my feet floating off the ground, and the utensils growing in size in my 8-year-old hands. And that's when it clicks where I am. I'm where the ambulance sirens fade away for good. I'm where I can eat and eat, always to savor and never to hunger. And I'm where the laughing and cackling, the fighting and the shouting will never again give me a headache, but shall instead forevermore stream and strum like music in my ears. Thanks.
Tick, tock. Tick, tock. I'm staring at the ceiling. I really need to sleep. I need to wake up early tomorrow. The last time I looked at my phone, it was 2 a.m. I try to avoid my thoughts. If they catch me, I won't be able to sleep. Tick, tock. The shadows on the wall are moving. A car is passing by. I'm losing focus. The thoughts are coming. Tell me, what is that you want to do with this one wild and precious life? The ceasefire negotiations are failing, despite the increasing number of casualties every day. Have you heard of what's going on with Tesla's stock? Poor people who bought this stock and invested in it. You sold yours a while ago, right? First new message. Hello, Mahzad John. Why you answered our calls? We are waiting for you. Please give us a call back when you can. Due to inflation, a 15% increase in rent prices is expected in Montreal area. Tick, tock. Tick, tock. I don't have an analog clock, not for many years now. I just hear its sound in my head. Whenever time is running, I'm just stalled in this one wild and precious life.
It's a bright summer day in 2018. My mom, my sister, and I are attending a family friend's pool party filled with wine-sipping adults and screaming, Nerf gun-playing kids. Now, I love to talk. And what I love more than just talking with adults about serious subjects. So it's no surprise where I end up, next to my mom at the adult table. We're talking back and forth when all of a sudden, my mom's friend stands up and starts scolding me. You should be out playing with other girls your age, not sitting here with the adults. You don't belong here. My face is plastered with shock, confusion, but mostly embarrassment. The next thing I know, my mom stands up, takes me and my sister, and walks out the front door. Fast forward a few years. I'm now in 6th grade and back to talking. I love participating in class. My teacher is teaching us about les années folles, or in English, the Roaring Twenties. This sparks a memory I have of a restaurant I had gone to with my dad called Les Années Folles. So I raise my hand, but so does the boy sitting in front of me. My teacher points in my direction, so I lower my hand and speak. A wave of uncomfortable silence fills the entire class as I realize that the boy in front of me was chosen to speak, not me. I vividly remember telling myself, if you don't talk, you won't embarrass yourself. And that was the last time I voluntarily spoke in class. I'd gone from a talkative little girl to a quiet teenager. I'm now in my 3rd year of high school and trying to find my voice again. Just the other day, I willed myself to speak in French class after mentally giving myself a small pep talk and then feeling my face go red as the words left my mouth. It's small, and saying it out loud makes me realize how pathetic I sound, but I think I would have made little Daphnée proud.
I have been married for 39 3/4 years. Mornings start like this. Strong cup of coffee. Jacques, where do you want to be buried? Next to your aunt. I don't mind. Okay. Well, that's another difficult question ticked off the list. Now I can check my inbox. Finding magic in St. Martin. Oh, tempting. But I need magic closer to home, walking distance. Exclusive pre-sales. Early deals dropping, first dibs going fast. I can bundle and save. Print out a recipe for Cornish game hens with pears and figs. Keep your grocery receipts and get extra miles, Claire. They know me. I'll have to buy more groceries. Personalized flash offers for a limited time only. Hurry, act now. Oh, you can't rush me. I still write cursive. Loops and lines with a pencil on paper. And I erase stuff with the little pink eraser on the end of the pencil. Keep up, Claire. Your safety is non-negotiable. You need to know about interventional radiology. Stay ahead of the threats. Be prepared. Take control. Upgrade now. Ding! Your museum membership expires today. We're sending you a QR code. Ding! Ding! A fundraising campaign reminds me that I was so generous last year. Opt in, there's still time, they tell me. Is there really? Still time? Can you guarantee that? That's one offer I would click on in a heartbeat. Thank you.
Okay, so this is weird. 300 children are sitting in a gym, and they're all staring at me. And my principal is leading me to the front of the room where there's a clown with balloons. Wait, I check my pants. Yeah, I'm wearing pants. Okay, so this is actually happening. So the clown starts to sing a song, sing happy birthday to me, reads a message from my girlfriend, Lynn, and he gets down on one knee, and he says, "Will you marry me?" Wait, what? Wait, just a second here. Lynn and I have talked about marriage, but we've never really talked about marriage. So I'm kind of taken aback by this. One of my students yells out, "What are you going to say, sir?" Lynn is brilliant, and she's got the warmest smile, and she's the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. So there only could be one answer. Yes, I'll say yes. Well, the room erupts. The kids are cheering, and the principal shakes my hand, and the clown gives me a hug. And now I float to the end of the day, or the school day, when I go downtown to see my wife, my future wife. And I look her deep in the eyes, and I say, yes. She looks me deep in the eyes, and she says, yes, what? Okay, yes, I will marry you. Well, that seems all of a sudden, don't you think? Look down, still wearing pants, okay. But you send me a clown who sang and read a message and proposed marriage. Oh, she says, that's a bit awkward. I meant the will you marry me part as kind of a joke. I didn't think he would ask you in front of everyone else. Sorry. I gotta go to work. And she's gone. Later that night, we talked, and yes, she wanted to marry me. So that was kind of good. This clown proposal, Freudian slip thing had just been a convenient way to launch us into a discussion we were ready to have. So 32 years later, she still has the warmest smile in the world, and she's sitting with one of our 3 wonderful daughters. And I'm still wearing pants.
So recently, I asked a friend, what do you think my fatal flaw is? I know, right? Stupid. Without missing a beat, they say, flattery. You are addicted to flattery. You're a sucker for it. And I was about to say, no, I'm not. But then I remembered this one time where I almost joined a religious cult because somebody said they liked my coat. You guys, it was 1993, and it was this coat. And I was on the train in Boston, and this girl comes up, and she goes, I like your coat. And my reaction was, I will follow you to the end of the earth. You know? And where I followed her was to a recruitment meeting for a religious cult. Now, I don't know if anybody's been to a recruitment meeting for a religious cult. Has anybody ever? Yeah? A couple people, right? Well, what you can probably find out is they're not that interesting. You know, they have kind of, this one at least, had kind of an AA vibe to it, except everybody was like super positive and everybody kept saying, Joshua's coming. Wait till you meet Joshua. Joshua arrives tonight. And I was just thinking, yeah, okay, I'll hang out for this Joshua character. Because she said like-minded people were going to be there, and I thought, well, maybe they'll like my coat, you know? Another thing you have to know about these things is that the snack table is very disappointing. There's like bad coffee and off-brand potato chips and warm cans of soda. And eventually I just sort of kind of got distracted and discouraged. I was distracted and discouraged. Don't ring that bell. This doesn't count. And I just sort of wandered off. There was this dim sum restaurant I saw on the way there, and I just went there instead. So flash forward to 6 weeks later, I'm reading the paper, and I'm reading the paper, and I see this article. It says that there's this guy, Joshua, and he started this religious cult, and all these people got brainwashed. And I thought, holy cow, one bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, and they would have got me. You know? But you gotta admit, it's a pretty nice coat.
So my college girlfriend and I have been seeing each other for a little while, but this is the first time that she's come to my house. She lives in Laval. I live way out on the South Shore. Neither of us drive. Neither of us have the kind of cool parents who will let us sleep over in each other's bedrooms. So Our sex life can best be described as furtive. So we're just in my room talking, and then we're talking with the door closed, and then we're kissing, and then there's caressing, and pretty soon we're both aroused enough to wonder, what's the minimum amount of clothing one can remove to permit intercourse? It's an experiment for science. So we're on my bed, being scientific, and suddenly there's a knock at the door. We freeze, and I say very loudly and clearly, "Don't come in." And what happens is my mom comes in. We're both mortified. And she sees us and freezes. And she utters this soft, "Oh." And she quickly exits and closes the door. It's what I really wish I could tell you happened. But instead, she just continues on with whatever the hell it is she came in for. She holds up this box of Quaker chewy granola bars. And she says, "I found these in the pantry." And I say, "Yeah, I bought them to put in my school lunches." And then she backs up and closes the door. Is what I wish had happened. But no, she forges on. "They're very expensive." I know. I paid for them myself. My girlfriend is still melting silently next to me. And my mom pursues. "What should I do with them?" Maybe just put them back in the pantry? And then she reverses course and closes the door. Is finally what happens. But right after she closes the door, I hear her open my little sister's bedroom door. And I hear her say, "You know, they're in bed together." And my sister, with no hesitation, like a boss, answers, "So?" And that is why my sister and I are ride or die.
There I am hiking in the Himalayas. And essentially, I'm walking along this cliff, following the river down below, and I'm searching for the bridge that I need to take me to the other side, to the village that I'm going to stay in. So it took me a while, but I finally found it. But I don't know if I would even really call it a bridge. It was kind of like a makeshift. It was really just a tree spread across the gorge over this raging river. And I don't have a lot of fears in life, but deathly heights with unstable footing and no guardrail does me in every time. But I didn't have a choice. I needed to get to the other side. So, took a deep breath and I reminded myself, don't look down. I took my first step onto the tree. It was wet, it was slippery. And as soon as I lifted my second foot off of solid ground, I instantly slipped off the tree and I landed all the way down in a bear hug on the tree, bridge tree, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, once I was down there, I'm like, there's no need to get back up. At this point, I will just claw my way across the bridge. with my big ass up in the air. And I'm so vain because the only thing I'm thinking at that moment is, thank God there's nobody around to see me doing this, because it's really embarrassing. Anyway, and then I had an obstacle. In the middle of the tree was a branch sticking out. So I used the branch to get myself back up to standing, and then I flipped myself around, and backwards I now shimmied my way all the way to solid ground. I sat there, celebrating life for a moment. And when I looked up, I noticed there were 3 local women heading down the same path that I had just come along. And I got excited because I'm like, I can't wait to see how they're going to cross the bridge. Let me see how the local people do it. And let me tell you something, it was absolutely amazing. Like, these women had full confidence. They never missed a beat. One step right after the other. And they didn't even look down as they walked right past my tree bridge, about 100 meters down the path to the solid metal bridge. Thank you.
So I'm flying home to Montreal via Toronto, and WestJet has a system-wide computer crash. So all flights are grounded, all transfers are canceled, everyone in the country is stranded. So I'm trying to figure out what to do, and no one who works for WestJet speaks French, so I am translating for all the Francophone passengers and trying to help people find their way. And I end up taking care of an elderly gentleman named Tan. He has just spent 35 hours flying from Vietnam, unaccompanied. He's in his 80s, he has reduced mobility, he's hard of hearing, and he doesn't speak a word of English. So my mission is to make sure he gets delivered safely back to his son, who's waiting for him in Montreal. So a whole lot of things happen, it's a big hassle, but we do finally get back to Montreal. We make sure we get Tan's luggage, he gets delivered to his son, everyone's happy, except for me, because that's when I realize I forgot my passport on the plane. So I rush to the WestJet counter and I beg them, I say, please look for my passport. I was in seat 14A, I know where it is, it's in the little pocket, just please send someone to get it before the plane takes off. So the woman makes a few phone calls. She's like, I'm so sorry, ma'am. We checked and it's not there. And I beg her again. I say, please, please. I've just gone through a hellish couple of days. Check seat 14A, the little pocket. Please find my passport. She makes a few phone calls. So sorry, ma'am. We checked and it's not there. So I'm just discouraged. I get home, I'm crying, I'm exhausted, and I check my messages, and I get a message from my ex-brother-in-law, John. He says, hey, how's it going? I have your passport. So, what? So he was on the next flight to Winnipeg in seat 14A, and he picked up my passport right in the little seat pocket. So I learned 2 things that day. Sometimes karma works in your favor, and WestJet absolutely did not check my seat. Thank you.
It's midnight, and I'm standing outside with 2 of my girlfriends. The snow is gently falling, and my friend Grace takes out a piece of paper from her pocket, and she reads from it. In 2024, I want to get off Instagram. We nod. Seriously, I take out a lighter from my pocket, and we light that piece of paper on fire. The 3 of us are at a chalet weekend, and we're doing a little bit of like a New Year's ritual. The whole point is that we're gonna go around in a circle and like list the things, beliefs, things that we just don't want to carry into the new year. But Grace isn't done yet. She takes out another piece of paper, and this time she says, in a much smaller voice, in 2024, I want to be able to trust my friends. And when I see that piece of paper burning, I'm back in my kitchen a few summers ago, watching my best friend's wedding invitation burn in my sink. I had set it on fire angrily after he had uninvited me to his wedding. You see, long story short, his fiancée did not like me and had given him an ultimatum saying that it was either our friendship or their marriage. And so he made the obvious, yes. And so he made the obvious choice, effectively turning our decade-long friendship into ashes. And you don't get into your 30s without losing a couple of friends. It's fine. But losing him, I lost a bit of my ability to trust. And so back in the chalet, watching Grace's paper burn, I knew how she felt. Even though I didn't know all the details of what she had gone through, I could relate to the pain she must have felt. And it seemed like I was not the only one, because our third friend, on listening to Grace, she held her hand and squeezed my shoulder and whispered, "Me too." And so we went round in a circle listing all the things we wanted to let go of in 2023, everything from like our fear of being imperfect and finally kicking that Uber Eats habit, 6, 7, 8 pieces burning, the snow beneath us turning the color of the frozen lake ahead of us. We let it all go, making space for the new and the better. And I watched in wonder at these two beautiful women in front of me, realizing that the space that I was making was already being filled up by these two new friends that I had so much more in common with than I had even realized. And the fact that by some miracle, we had seen each other's wounds and were still choosing to love one another. Thank you.
It's a warm Saturday evening, and I get a call from my 17-year-old daughter. She's staying with her friend, Adina, overnight, a few blocks away. She wants my advice. Should we eat something before we do acid? This is a pivotal moment in our harm reduction parenting strategy. We'd been open with her in age-appropriate ways about sex and drugs and alcohol, because it felt more responsible, actually, to share with her some of the things that we'd experienced and some of the things that we'd learned. And to tell a teenager not to do something doesn't work anyway. They're going to do it, and then you're left out of the loop. You're not going to be a trusted advisor. So I'm a trusted advisor. She's asking my advice. Should we eat something? Yeah, eat a little bit, not too much. You don't want to feel sick. Should we swallow the tab or like chew it? It's like, oh my God, don't chew it. You're going to get that weird metallic taste, so swallow it. And then she reassures me, don't worry, Mom. We've got art supplies in the house. We even went and bought some bath bombs. We're probably going to have a bath. And of course I'm worried. I don't sleep super well that night. Where did they get it? But this is the path we chose. This is what's happening. I can't stop it. I have to let go. So I tell her, you know, honey, that sounds fun. Take care of each other and have a good trip.
I am on Zoom with my friend and her kid, and her kid asked me why I'm not there. And my friend explains that I'm an anthropologist and I need to be away. And the kid obviously asks, what is an anthropologist? Fair question. The screen freezes and a memory comes up. I am in the Italian countryside, chirping birds, beautiful sunshine, majestic old trees. The house that I'm staying in is the kind of majestic, yet kind of sort of maybe understated place you can imagine making pasta from with your perfect family of 4, except in my case, I am in a wild boar sanctuary. So it's hundreds of wild boars wearing long robes and kind of praying along, salivating snouts, or maybe more like it is. Fair? Hundreds of wild boars of all kinds. You get sick boars, young boars, dying boars, angry boars, boars fucking everywhere. And you have a few humans scuttling about, trying to save boars, heal boars, love boars, become boars. Kind of forget themselves, let's face it. And I need to pee. So I open the bathroom's door. Right across the room, very close to the toilet, is a wild boar on a shit-ridden blanket with 2 broken femurs staring at me. The boar stares at me as I head for the toilet, stares at me as I unzip my trousers, stares at me as I pull them down and take a piss. And I stare back because it feels like the respectful thing to do. Except I remember, while I'm there taking a piss butt naked with this boar staring at me, that I'm a predator to the poor fucker. And when I stare, I'm basically telling him that he's soon gonna be barbecue. And so I'm caught between my desire to reciprocate somebody's gaze and my utter ignorance of what it's like to be a broken body in a bathroom. The screen unfreezes. We didn't catch that, honey. Can you repeat what you said? I guess being an anthropologist is trying to be as naked as whoever you're facing.
I'm in New York City. We're here for the surgery. My great love has a brain tumor. When the surgery starts, I need some air. So I wander pensive and worried into Central Park, and I come across one of those benches, you know, the ones with the sponsored plaques on them. This one says, "Love all, trust a few, do harm to none." I love this. I believe this. So I post a photo of the plaque on Instagram. I'm full of emotion. I'm all #love, #get better. I just want him to survive. And then it starts. DMs, messages to me, Instagram, from a woman, a hat maker in Germany. She makes it clear she knows my great love very well. She's worried sick about the surgery. She says, "How is my great love, my sweetheart?" I sit on the bench and stare at my phone. I don't know who she is. And my phone rings. The hospital. I sprint all the way back. The great love, they're fine. And I watch them in recovery. And then I go and wander again. Trust all. Love all, trust a few, do harm to none. Yeah, I have a few questions. Thank you.
So when I was 27 years old, I studied in Paris for a year. And about halfway through, I moved to a new apartment. And a few days after I'd moved into that new apartment, I had just settled in for an evening of tea drinking and listening to NPR when I heard a knock on the door. And it was my neighbor, Sophie, from England, and she wanted to introduce herself, and she invited me over for a drink. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I go, and I see her apartment, and I meet her best friend, Samina, who's also from London. And we chat for a bit, and we're hitting it off, and Samina goes, you know, after this, we're going to the club. Do you want to come? And I'm like, oh no, I don't do clubs, but like I'm really touched that she's invited me, so I wanna decline tactfully. And so I look down at my clothes and I've got it. I'm like, oh, I couldn't possibly. I'm wearing skinny jeans and slippers and a plaid shirt, and you're wearing 5-inch heels and a little black dress and a face full of makeup. So like, I cannot go. And she looks at me, and she looks at the door, and then she looks at me, and she says, why don't you go across the hall and put on your glad rags? And I said, what? And she says, exactly the same. Why don't you go across the hall and put on your glad rags? And I said, what? And she gets up real close and she says, your glad rags, you know, your Sunday best. And that's when I realized that she actually thinks that I own glad rags, but for the club. But I don't, like, not in Paris and not in Montreal and not anywhere in the world. But also I realized that, like, maybe I chose the wrong country for my year abroad.
So I'm walking to work in the morning. I'm listening to a podcast on my cell phone with my wireless Bluetooth headphones, and I'm walking, and then I see up ahead at a red light is a bus, and I'm like, oh, I'm about 8 blocks away from work, 10-minute walk, but if I catch this bus, I'll get there faster. So I start to jog towards it, and the light turns green, so I'm like, oh man, I gotta get on this bus now. So I'm sprinting like the T-100 in Terminator, and I'm right next to the bus, and it drives off. But then I notice up ahead, the next light's red too, so I'm like, I could totally get on this bus, this is my mission. So I'm running another 2 blocks, I get to the bus, light turns green, it starts to go, I'm like, crap, and then it stops. So I'm like, yeah, I get on the bus, take out my bus pass, swipe it on the thing, and then I push the button because we're at my stop. So I ran like 6 blocks for a 1-stop bus ride, but I'm like, totally worth it. I get off the bus and I'm like, oh wait, the whole time I was doing this, my headphones stopped playing. So I'm like, I better turn them back on. And I click the button, nothing happens. So I click again, nothing happens. So I'm like, okay, I better get my phone out. I put my hand in my pocket. And I'm like, oh shit, so wait, I have 10 pockets in my jacket. I'm checking all my pockets, no phone. And I just got that phone the day before, brand new phone. And I'm like, no. So I turned around, I'm like, now I gotta run all the way back those 8 blocks and look for my phone. So I start running, and this guy's running towards me for some reason. And I move out of the way, and I'm like, whatever. And I go, and then all of a sudden, my headphones turn on and they go connected. So I'm like, oh, that means they're nearby. So I'm looking around the ground, and then I'm not moving. I'm just looking around, and then I hear disconnected. So that means the phone is moving. So that guy must have my phone. So I turn around. I'm like, hey, wait. And I'm running after him. And he's running for some reason. And then he stops. I'm like, did you find a phone? And he goes, yeah, I found this phone. I'm like, that's my phone. And he's excited too. He's like, this is your phone. I'm like, yeah. And he gives me the phone. I'm like, yeah. And then it turned out he was looking for me. And he ran off. And I got my phone. I was like, all excited. And then I just went to work. So the moral of the story is next time I'm walking. Thank you.